No, that's why he did it.
But it wasn't the sole reason of trying to protect anybody.
Yeah, what are you saying? That is literally the reason. No. Okay, let me break it down. Welcome back to Motion Picture Dogfight.
This is the podcast where we talk about and debate our favorite characters, TV shows, and movies.
On today's episode, Logan versus Deadpool.
Two really similar characters.
Similar, but also very different.
Yeah.
You know, and the movies themselves, and I just want to clarify some stuff before we get started here. We're talking about the movies, Deadpool 1 versus Logan, but also there's a little bit of leniency with this one just because the movies are so centralized around one character.
Yeah.
We have to go into a little bit of the character versus character and all that stuff. So even though at the end of the day we are trying to debate the best movie, it's also going to cross into which is the better character also. Yeah. But yeah, both of them same powers roughly.
Yeah, I know we're talking about these two movies, but if you go back into one of Wolverine's movies that he had, The Origins of Wolverine, that's how, the same people that made Wolverine made Deadpool. So it's essentially the same people making both characters. So but this Deadpool is not that Deadpool. Yeah, I know. Same actor, but I know.
Yeah, that first version of Deadpool was pretty trash.
Yeah, it really was.
It was not good at all.
That's what in the Deadpool movie, it's more. I like it a lot just because it does kind of go through his backstory and how he became who he was, who he was before he became Deadpool, how it kind of he gets the cancer and all that kind of stuff. Wants to treat it, goes through it.
But that makes sense. Like anytime you have a first movie for any character, especially a superhero character, like you have to dive into origins and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of what makes Logan better is because it didn't have to dive into the origins of Wolverine. Everyone knew. Like, if you didn't know going into that movie who he was, how he got his powers, and, just kind of his mindset and everything, that movie, don't go to the movie. Going into it, everything. So they don't waste any time with the origins and, what can he do and everything like that. It just jumps right into it. Within, the first, 2 minutes, he's already slashing up, those guys trying to rob his chrome wheels off of his limo.
Yeah, but essentially, even though you say that's a good thing about Logan, I feel like it's a bad thing about Logan.
Why?
For instance, my girlfriend, she didn't know who Wolverine was, didn't know anything about him, anything. We go see that movie, she has a million questions. We go, but you see that movie, you're like, oh, what's Logan? I'm going to watch that movie. You have no idea about who's that old guy, who's the guy that looks like a Martian.
But even if I don't even know who the the super albino guy is. He can sniff really far or something.
He tracks mutants.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's right. But here's the thing though. Since Logan is later on in the X-Men series and they don't have to dive into it, you can compare that to something like Deadpool 2 where they don't do his origins or anything like that. And I guarantee you show somebody who has no previous knowledge of either of the characters, either of the movie, any of the movies or anything, and you show them Logan and then you show them Deadpool 2 without any origin or any backstory, they're going to enjoy Logan way more than they ever thought enjoying about Deadpool.
Are we debating?
No,
Logan,
I'm just
Deadpool
saying it'd be the same thing about your argument. People coming into it that haven't seen any of the previous movies don't know what the hell is going on. But at the same time, you don't necessarily have to. Yes, it helps your connection with the characters and knowing what everything is and how everything has gotten to that point. But you don't necessarily have to. By like I said, they're 2 minutes into the movie. You know what Logan's about. He's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
He's old. He's just beaten down, and he's slashing dudes up.
But at the same time, like if you did want to compare Deadpool, I mean, just the sense of what Deadpool is, just the character, how hilarious he is, just his personality, his all that. People would relate to that a lot more than how they would relate to Logan.
I don't think so.
Logan, he's just kind of like that. He's kind of like an a-hole. You know, it's just like.
Where are you getting that from?
In the movie Logan. He doesn't care about anybody except for Charles Xavier. He doesn't care
because he doesn't have anybody besides Charles.
No, I know.
Everybody else is dead that he ever knew.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, would relate to a Logan more than to a Deadpool?
Okay, let me ask you this: how many times do you think people at some point in their lives have felt like just totally disconnected, just so alone? Like everybody experiences that probably at least once. Not everybody experiences witty humor 24/7.
But even in the movie Deadpool, he goes through a extreme low.
Yeah.
Like if you want to go from that, like Logan starts out that way, but he wants it that way. Like
I don't think he necessarily wants it that way. I mean, he prefers to be by himself and be a loner and everything like that, but he didn't want all the X-Men to die.
Well, of
and for
course,
it to just be him taking care of Charles Xavier all over himself.
Yeah, nobody wants them all to die.
Exactly.
Or Charles Xavier on himself.
Exactly. And how many people do you think have the real life experience of having to take care of someone who's geriatric? And like maybe they don't necessarily want to be there, but they're there because they love that person and they have the responsibility of taking care of that person.
But in that movie, it's really not Logan wanting to take care of him. It's because he has to.
Exactly. That's what I just said.
No. Like it's not like if he had the choice to leave, I bet he would leave. Like he wouldn't sit there and take care of him if he had to.
Well, that's what's another great thing about the movie, because you see that in the beginning of the movie where he says, guy, he doesn't really want to do anything or be anything. He doesn't even want to be alive. That's why he has the adamantium bullet to shoot himself one of these days. Yeah. But he knows he has to be there to take care of his father figure, Charles.
No, he doesn't.
And he knows why else would he do it?
In the movie, the government made him because Charles Xavier's mind was. It was labeled like a.
Even if someone's making him, he knows he has to be there.
Yeah, because
he's the only one.
He's under the government orders to take care of him.
He's the only one that he's the only one that can. So he knows he has to be there.
He's not the only one that can.
Who else?
That Martian dude. I forget his name.
The Martian guy can't even go out into the sun.
Okay, it's not that hard to throw on a long sleeve.
Sometimes it is.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's just like throwing on another shirt.
Yeah, okay, sure. But back to my point is he starts off that way, and as the movie progresses, you see that development of him, really connecting with Charles, and then eventually connecting with his genetic daughter, and like fighting, not because he has to, but because he wants to, and he wants to fight for the people that he loves.
See, I really don't even think it's even that far. I think there's a sense like you're old. You know that you're like you want to die. Like you said, he wants to die. He carries around the bullet, all that.
Yeah.
Why he knows he's gonna die? Oh, I'm gonna throw myself into protecting these people.
What's your question?
Like he's finding a way out of like he's gonna die. Like he knows that he's gonna die doing this. So that's why, in my opinion, he would want to do it.
You think that he did that final battle and fought X-24, his clone, and everything like that, just because he was like, I'm gonna die anyways. I might as well get cut up and slashed up and stabbed and thrown around and impaled by a tree trunk while I'm at it.
Might as well.
No, hell no. You know damn well that if you knew you were gonna die and you were feeling like so terrible, why would you do that? If you truly didn't care, why would you go through all the effort of hurting yourself and just making it way, way worse for yourself if at the end of the day you just don't care and you're just doing it to kill yourself?
I can see a part of him wanting to save the rest of the mutant, right? Or like those little kids are what's left of the mutants. So it's like yeah, I can see him wanting to protect, but like, was it 100% that reason? I don't believe it was. I think it was like 60% of this is my way out, and 40%, oh, I can help these kids get to where they need to be.
No, I think you're wrong, dude.
Dude, so like if you were in his situation and you knew that you could, I can get these kids where they need to be, but at the same time, this is kind of like my way out. You wouldn't do it?
Well, I'm saying he did it because of the first reason and not because of the second reason. He didn't do it because that was his way out. Otherwise, if he literally was just wanting to get a way out as soon as possible, as fast as possible, he had the bullet. He had a gun. He could have done it right then and there.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, like his sole reason, not sole reason, but like the 60% of him was like, oh, this is my way out. But the 40% was like, oh, I can also get these mutants to safety.
No.
Yes,
no.
dude.
Dude, you're just wrong on that one, dude. You're not making any sense.
How?
Because you can see the emotion in his eyes whenever Charles dies. You can see like just the sheer rage that he has as he's running in the tree line trying to find his daughter, killing people and everything like that.
The only reason
you don't get those emotions unless you're like going towards something that you care about.
The only reason he has all that rage and everything is because he injected himself with like a whole bottle of that.
But he wouldn't have injected himself with that stuff in the first place if he didn't really, truly need to get there as soon as possible because he wanted to make sure his daughter was all right.
No, the only reason he wanted to do that is because he knew he couldn't keep up. And the only way to keep up...
You're so insane.
Dude.
That is such a crazy argument.
Okay, so if he didn't inject himself with that, would he even be able to run or do anything?
No, that's why he did it.
But it wasn't the sole reason of trying to protect anybody.
Yeah, what are you saying? That is literally the reason. No. Okay, let me break it down for you, okay? He's sitting there. He wakes up. He realizes that the Reavers are already there, and they're hunting the kids. The kids are gone. He wakes up in that little shack, right?
Yeah.
He has the green vial. At that point, he realizes, in my current state, with my adamantium poisoning and my healing factor being low and everything like that, I don't stand a chance to go run, catch up, and fight and kill everybody at trying to get it towards these kids. He comes to that conclusion, right?
Yeah.
So in your argument, if you're saying 60% is just his way out, why would he inject himself with that stuff in the beginning if he knew in his current state he wasn't going to be able to take any of the measures to get to the people, kill them and everything? Why would he have injected himself in the first place?
Because he has to get to him. Like
why does he have to if that's his way out?
That's the 60% that I'm saying. And the 40% comes in where he said he's trying to protect those kids.
No.
Yes.
No, I think you're wrong, dude.
Dude.
You're so... That's just not correct at all. Did you even watch the movie?
I did watch the movie.
Do you know what happened in the movie?
I do know what happens in the movie.
But talking about Deadpool, I will say this. Deadpool, it's a great movie. They did that character, in my opinion, pretty good justice.
Yeah.
With his fourth wall breaking, his humor, his fighting, and everything like that. But the villain on Deadpool, Francis, talk about a piece of shit. And not in I hate this villain type of way, in a good superhero villain type of way.
Who's the villain in Logan?
What? The Reavers trying to kill everybody.
Trying to kill who?
I'm not saying that the girl, little girl.
So the enemy's not even going after Logan. The whole movie is irrelevant. You could have put anybody in that spot.
No, you couldn't have, because it wouldn't have been their daughter.
It's not his daughter. It's genetic. It's his DNA.
But that's why I put quotes at it in the beginning that it's his genetic daughter.
Yeah.
They got it from his genes.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have put anybody else in that position. Who else is going to go up against, especially when the mutants are gone, and especially when they cloned Hugh Jackman's Wolverine X-24, who else is going to be able to go up against them and have a fighting chance? The only other person alive is Charles Xavier, and he gets killed by X-24 right off the bat. So boom, he's out. Now who's going to do it?
No, but I'm saying like the whole reason that they made X-23 or what is X-23?
X-24. 23 is the girl and the kids.
X-24 is just because it's Logan. So you put anybody else, they would have made an X-24 of that character.
Nah.
Yes.
Nah.
Okay, besides that, if they didn't create an X-24, what villain in that movie would have been there? It's just humans, right?
How am I supposed to say?
It's just humans.
Well, yeah. Because they're like the cannon fodder of the movie. Every movie has cannon fodder, just like how in Deadpool they have all those henchmen and stuff that he just breezes through. Those are the same concept with the Reavers.
But there's
I'm saying
a reason.
if you draw a correlation between X-24 being the main villain, the most like...
But he's not.
The threat? Yes, he is.
Dude, X-24 is not the main villain.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Who is? The scientists that created everybody?
No, the dude that's going after the daughter. I forgot his name, but the dude that drives up to the place and is trying to get her there. And
no,
then they drive to that house.
He is a big portion of villain, but I'm saying the biggest adversary to the main character, it being my version of the villain. Like Francis in Deadpool is the biggest adversary to Deadpool because everybody else in that movie, he just breezes through and kills everybody, except for Francis. He actually has to put in some effort, right?
Yeah.
And Logan is the main character of Logan.
Yeah.
And so his main adversary, although maybe you could say the leader of the, I forget his name too, the leader of the Reavers is technically supposed to be the main like overarching villain, or even the scientist who created everybody is supposed to be the main villain and everything. X-24 is his main adversary. That's what makes the entire movie a challenge, is once X-24 is introduced, it all goes downhill from there because it's almost impossible for old Wolverine to keep up with the brand new, brandly born, psychotic, just animalistic Wolverine. That's why X-24 being the villain versus Francis being the villain, X-24 takes the cake all day. Because who else would have been able to stand a chance against primetime Wolverine? You hear all this talk about people like, oh, would you take a punch from Mike Tyson in his prime? Imagine fighting Wolverine, a fresh Wolverine.
With no claws?
What are you talking about? He has claws.
I'm not going to take a punch from Wolverine with his claws.
No, I'm saying, I'm just using that as an example. Like you always hear people talk about like, oh, maybe now you'd take a punch from Mike Tyson, but what about in his prime? It'd be like the same thing. Like, well, maybe people could fight Logan now that he's old and poisoned and everything like that. But what about in his prime? And he had to fight himself in his prime without any other emotions to hold him back. Just pure animal instinct.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, obviously, but the whole movie isn't based around that.
Well, no.
Yeah, so how can you say that's the main villain?
The whole movie of Deadpool isn't based around Francis. I mean, it's the same concept where it's not the entire movie, just one long fight scene.
He's chasing the guy that did what he did to him.
I know, but what I'm saying is it's not like every single scene he's with Francis. It's just the same way with, like, Logan has a lot more, variety in the villains and stuff because you have the scientists, you have the Reavers, and then you have finally X-24, who's like the biggest threat to everybody.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in the sense of if you take Logan, it's just a big goose chase. Like the whole movie's just, oh, we're going to this place.
And Deadpool's not a big goose chase. He's just trying to find someone to f*** his face up.
But Logan isn't like, they're not even after Logan. Logan's just there as like a bodyguard.
Exactly. So your whole point of like, he didn't really truly care, that makes no sense. Because if he really didn't truly care, he could have been like, yeah, take the, I don't care.
But he did say that.
Yeah, but as the character progresses, especially at the point we're talking about at the very end, whenever he injects himself and runs to go save her and everything, if that was the case, he would have thrown his hands up and jumped off the cliff if he really wanted to die.
I didn't mean it in that sense of like, oh, he doesn't give a f*** about anything. That's why I said it's 60% about him doing that and then 40% about him saving the mutants.
I think we should move on from this topic because I don't think we're convincing each other, but I'm 100% correct. 1,000% correct.
But if you want to go about Deadpool's villain, it's a better movie story about how you go. If you want to go about it, that's how every movie is. Like the person that f***s you over and the person that messes you up is the villain. So like you want to spend the whole time, oh, I want to kill this guy. And then he gets to him, and then Colossus comes and is like, no, you're not going to kill him. And then he survives. And then You
Yeah.
go, and then, you end up killing him or whatever.
Yeah.
But in Logan, the X-24, it's not, like, I'm saying that's not even the real villain. Like, there's no true villain to Logan. Like, oh yeah, he has to fight himself, but it's not a villain. It's just like somebody he fights. Like, if you want to say a villain, like in the other movies, like Magneto, he's the villain.
So you're saying that to be classified as a villain, they have to be directly over by that person?
No, I'm not saying they directly have, but they have to be the main idea of like the whole thing.
But
like,
it's kind of like, it's like it's all one organization. So the organization is the main villain, the overarching villain.
yeah,
It's just within the organization. You see it in movies all the time where, a group or, an organization has different tier levels to their threats and everything like that. Because it always starts out in the beginning of the movie, they have these just normal ass people coming out and they're going to get slayed. And then in the middle of the movie, they show the big threat. And then at the end, it's either the big threat loses or wins or whatever. But the organization that creates all these mutants and is doing all of this in the first place is the main villain. And it's not so much that X-24 is the main villain, it's just that he's the biggest threat to the entire other makeup of the characters.
but okay. So if you would have put that in Deadpool, if in Deadpool they made another Deadpool and he had to fight Deadpool, is it more satisfying if he kills Deadpool or more satisfying he kills Francis?
Deadpool.
How?
If they made another Deadpool, especially if they made it to what everything, like if everybody loves Deadpool for the, funny remarks, and the just craziness that, the chaoticness that he brings to the table and stuff like that, the unconventional aspects of him. If they made a Deadpool like that without any of the emotion, without any of the funny quips, without anything like that, and they had to fight each other at the end, that would be a way better and more interesting battle than him just fighting a guy who what even is Francis's powers? He doesn't feel pain. That's it. He has super strength or some like, a guy who doesn't feel if he gets a paper cut versus a guy who can heal with his head chopped off. Wonder who's going to win that one. There's no mystery.
But how is that not satisfying? Like, as a moviegoer, you watch and you see the guy that him over die.
Like, it's satisfying just with how douchey Francis is throughout the entire movie. And it's all, no matter what movie Francis is in or that type of character is in, it's always going to be satisfying just to have the payoff of, he's dead. Great. Mission accomplished. But I'm saying if you're comparing them and like you're comparing the threat levels between Francis and Deadpool and X-24 and Logan, there's no comparison. Because Logan actually ends up getting killed by X-24.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that's like, I'm saying that even that, like you said, he X-24 kills him.
Yeah.
So the whole movie, the basis of the movie is him trying to protect these people, and he doesn't, and the villain ends up killing him. So both villains live.
No, they don't live.
No, I know. But
X-24 gets killed.
I know, but I'm saying, like, in that scenario, you would be fine. Like, if those two just killed Logan, that would be fine.
Where are you getting that from? That's not what happened in the movie. I'm saying the main battle, the final battle. All I'm saying is it's a lot more interesting, and it's a lot more investing of the person watching the movie whenever they're watching somebody, the extreme poisoned older version of themselves versus a prime time, ready to go animalistic version of themselves with the exact same abilities fighting each other. It's a lot more, you don't know who's going to win type of thing. And it's a lot more interesting of a fight. But I remember specifically because Deadpool was just one of those movies where it's like you could see the end coming from a mile away. You knew it. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing because it's an hour and a half movie. You can only do so much. Like, I'm not holding that so much against him. I'm just saying, comparing the two, Logan wins by a landslide. Because Francis as the main threat to Deadpool and everything is like, well, who cares? Yeah, of course you're going to kill him. He doesn't feel pain and he might be a little bit stronger than everybody else, but what else has he got? Like I said, this dude can heal with his head cut off.
You're satisfied with Logan dying to X-24?
I actually was satisfied with it.
Why were you satisfied with it?
Because it was one of those things that going into it, everybody knew that was probably going to be Hugh Jackman's last time at Logan.
Yeah, so you saw from a mile away that he was going to die in this movie.
Not necessarily.
Yes.
It could have ended in a multitude of different ways that had him riding off into the sunset with his daughter or whatever. But I'm saying it was a payoff unlike any other superhero movie up to that point. Like nowadays, obviously, you have like Iron Man with the snap, that type of thing. But up until that point, what superhero movie had done that to where they killed him? Like legit killed him, but still managed to make it a wholesome experience to where everybody who was intended to get out got out. It was kind of like that. Like you knew going into it, most likely he's not going to come out of this. But at the same time, they managed to do it in a way where even though he didn't come out, he still protected and managed to get all of the other kids out and get them to the safety.
Well, yeah, and it makes like you said, it makes a good movie.
Yeah.
But in the sense of like how Deadpool's movie is put, I wouldn't say that it was necessarily better.
I would.
I mean, because like in Deadpool, you have all that, like you have, him falling in love, him getting cancer, leaving that girl, gone for years, having to figure out himself, having to go after these guys, having to do all that. It's like you go up, low, and then low, and then you finally get to the end.
So speaking of that, and last week you were talking about, the rawness of the movie and how you love raw movies.
Yeah.
It does not get rawer than Logan as far as superhero movie goes.
No.
Yes, that is a fact.
No.
It does. It hasn't yet. It may in the future, but it hasn't yet.
No.
And that was one of the biggest pieces of fan service ever is people who love the character of Wolverine finally got to see him just go ballistically ape with blood and guts and heads and arms and everything that they've ever wanted out of the character as a final act of like, here you go, fans. And that was probably the best experience out of the movie. And that is saying a lot considering the entire movie is raw. The entire movie shows just untapped superhero feelings that you don't see.
But last week, if you want, like last week, you said, how, it ended in a bad way because they lost or whatever. This is the same thing. You saying,
But I'm not saying that it always has to end with the, protagonist winning.
But that's what you said last week.
In a way, the protagonist did win because just how the entire organization is the villain, Logan and his daughter and Charles could be considered the heroes, right?
Yeah.
And so the heroes did ultimately win, even though they suffered major casualties along the way.
Yeah.
The heroes did eventually win, and the goal of getting the girls or the girl and the mutants, other little mutants, to the border or whatever happened.
And that's the exact point that I made last week that you said, no, that's dumb. Because I said the majority, or that's the whole main part of the movie was so that they learned that football wasn't everything.
But listen, no.
That's the exact same
not.
point. That's the exact same point that I made last week. That you said. Yes.
We don't need to get back into last week.
Because I'm right.
No, I just don't want to dive back into last week's stuff because we're not talking about that. We're talking about Logan versus Deadpool. But the rawness of it, like you were wanting so much of last week, it is raw. And it's just, like I was saying earlier, it's untapped superhero emotions that you don't see. You didn't see up until that point and you haven't seen. Like maybe Watchmen was kind of that same dark, kind of weird thing, but not to the level of Logan. And you haven't seen it. And also, along those same lines, I'll give it to Deadpool that you haven't seen that type of superhero movie either.
Yeah.
So
they're both, in a sense, like in their own mind, like Deadpool with the comedy relief of his character is kind of like Logan has been the same Logan through all the movies. Like that same character, that's him. Like it's not like he's on a low or anything. That's him.
But he is at an all-time low.
Not really, because that's always been him.
He's always been like the prick and that like the adversary to the group and everything like that, and wanting to be alone and stuff. But it is very evident in Logan that he is at an all-time low throughout his entire, 170 years of life. He is a raging alcoholic. He's taking care of old Charles Xavier that has seizures all the time. And he's being poisoned by his own skeleton coated in adamantium.
Yeah.
Like, he's clearly at an all-time low. He can't even heal right anymore, so it's not like he can just walk into battle and just not worry about the after effects anymore. Like, he actually has to watch his step, and, you know, it's just the facts of getting old, and he showed it.
Just how you said, like, he has to watch all his steps and everything, that goes into what I'm saying. Like, he knew that this was going to be his last hurrah, his last fight. He knew that. He knew that this was his way out.
I mean, whether he knew it or not, he might have known.
Yeah.
That's a strong possibility. But the fact that that makes it even more impactful. The fact that he knew, you know, before he injected that, if he thought to himself, I'm going to stab myself with this green juice, and I'm going to catch up to these people, I'm going to save my daughter, and I'm most likely not going to walk away from it. That makes it even more impactful to that he did it.
I mean, it does. I mean, we all love a sacrifice. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not sacrificial or whatever. But if you want to take what Logan did and the whole movie and everything, like, you knew what you were getting into whenever you go to that movie, is that you're going to get a hard ass that, you know, doesn't care about anybody. That's like his persona through all the movies. I mean, it wasn't anything different. It wasn't like, I didn't go to that and like, oh man, he's at an all-time low. Oh man,
you didn't?
No.
Why?
How is he at an all-time low whenever
I just told you.
That's who he is.
Like, he's still the same personality of Logan that hasn't really, you know, gone from one side to a different side. But I'm just saying that his physical state is at an all-time low.
Obviously, I mean, you can say that about anybody. I mean, like 3 years from now, you can say that about me. I'm at an all-time low because I'm not the same physical.
Yeah, but the thing about him is he's at such an all-time low, and there's nothing he can do about it. It's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse.
That's the same thing about people. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
The older you get, the worse you get.
Okay, and at the very beginning of this, you were talking about relatability. Who can't relate to that? Nobody, because every single fucking person goes through that shit. They get older and older and older and older, and they can't do shit
so
about
that's what I'm saying. He's not at an all-time low.
So how do people relate to Deadpool better than Logan?
You're living your best life, and then all of a sudden,
some people don't live their best life.
Well, I'm saying, like, a lot of people do, and a lot of people go and then bam, hit a wall, and I have cancer.
That's true.
Yeah, and then you go down and down. Oh, you get chemo. You're able to get chemo. Oh, you're cancer free. And, you know, in the movie, you know, he transforms into Deadpool.
But no. Listen, that whole sequence, first 20 minutes of the movie, and then after that, he's a Freddy Krueger face, slicing and dicing people. But you compare that little bit of relatability to the first 20 minutes versus the entire movie of relatability.
How do you relate to the whole movie of Logan?
It's not even so much that I personally relate to it. It's just that I know people, and throughout my life, I can draw the correlations between the people that I know and Logan and having those feelings. And plus, Logan, the emotional impact you get from Logan throughout the entire movie, especially at the end, it's just unheard of for a superhero. At least up until that point, it's unheard of.
I mean, yeah, but this is what, like, if you go into the comics, like, people knew that this was coming. Because this movie was solely based off of a comic series called Old Man Logan.
Yeah, we're not talking about the comic.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, you're saying that this is, oh my gosh, like, this is, like, people knew it already.
I didn't say that, though. I said going into it that everybody knew this was probably going to be his last ride.
No, but there was no probably. Like, it was set in stone.
There's
already.
Always probably.
No, there's not.
There's always dude, especially with comic book movies, they never adapt it 100% from the comic book.
But this was taken from that.
I know that, but they never adapt it 100%. You just can't.
Bro, none of the Marvel movies, like the movies that Marvel do, are even close to anything. in the comic, but like
I know because it's so different because you have so many comic stories that you have to try and pick the best situations out of each one and put them in and make it with real people and CGI, and it's understandable that they can't get it 100% straight. I'm just saying the whole probably versus for sure, like what's it really matter? Well, everyone knew going into it
because
most
you're saying,
likely.
like the emotion of it, the rawness of it, and everything.
Even if you knew 100%, even now knowing 100%, I've seen the movie through and through. Even if I watched it right now, I'd get to the end and I would still feel the emotional impact. Maybe not to the extent that I first saw it, but you would still feel it because you watched the entire sequence of events that led up to that. Plus, if you had watched all of the movies prior to that and saw the relationship between Charles and Logan and everything, like the moment Charles gets stabbed by X-24, that's like the point in the movie where you're like, damn, this is some real, like they ain't messing around.
Yeah.
That, in my opinion, all of the things that I've said have made a very valid case that Logan is better.
I wouldn't necessarily say that because like you're just undermining Deadpool's story. Like you say like, oh, just because it wasn't a freak of nature mutant human that they recreated to fight him makes it a bad movie. Oh,
no,
just because
no. I'm not saying that I want him to fight himself to be equivalent to Logan. I'm just saying comparing the movies, there's no comparison when you think about the biggest threats that they have in the movies. There's no comparison.
But you have to take into sense also that Wolverine or Logan's healing factor and all that is completely different from Deadpool's. Like Deadpool is more along the line a sense of human. He's more human than Logan is. In the sense of like Deadpool, like Logan can get shot 12 times, like back in the day. He could get shot like 12, 15, whatever times and still be going. Yeah. Deadpool, he gets shot and everything. He like, falls down and is like in pain. Mm-hmm. If Wolverine, gets whenever.
Well, part of that is because along with Wolverine's abilities, he has that berserk mode.
No, I know.
Where he just gets an insane adrenaline rush.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you can't like I feel like you're taking away from Deadpool because Deadpool is more of his powers are more human like. Like of course, like if he gets his leg torn off, it's gonna grow back like in a week. It's not like.
When did I say that Deadpool's powers weren't cool?
I'm not saying you said that they weren't cool. I'm saying like you're undermining the fact that like just because he fought Francis means that it wasn't like a good fight just because Deadpool obviously should win.
Yeah, he should.
But how are you going to say that whenever?
Because the other guy can't heal like he can.
Yeah, but if like in the movie he gets stabbed in the head and he's down for like 10 minutes of the movie.
That proves my point even more. If you stab Francis in the head, he's done. There's no coming back.
No, I know, but I'm saying like Deadpool's more human. Like if you want to say.
You could say the same thing about Wolverine. He gets shot in the head before and he's down for a long time.
But he got shot with the I don't even know.
Well, yeah, that's the only thing that could have got through his skull.
Yeah.
But if he just would have got shot before that happened.
It would have bounced off him. He would have still been going.
No, I'm saying if he would have got shot before he got his skeleton plated with the adamantium, it would have gone through his skull and it would have been the same reaction with just a regular bullet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But what's your point? I don't know.
But you're saying just because Logan fought X-24, that was a bigger villain and fight rather than Deadpool fighting Francis. Just because you should just know that Deadpool is going to win that.
Yeah, you should. And it is better for X-24 and Logan. That is a better fight because it's not only about the fight itself, like what's actually happening in the movie, but it's also about the symbolism of he's fighting himself, like how he has been fighting his own demons throughout the entire movie and also throughout his entire life. Well, and at the very peak, at the very end, well, it might not be the peak, but at the very end, he's finally coming to terms with fighting himself in a way. Even though even though it's a clone of himself, the symbolism is he's finally fighting himself. And at the end of the day, he kills himself in a way. Nah. I'm not saying that actually happens. I'm just saying that is
but that's a stretch.
No, that's what you can get from the movie. I'm not saying that that's what they had intended. I'm saying that's what I got from the movie. That in a way he did kill himself in the end, but also with him killing himself, it was also something that he had to do.
That's where I get the 60-40 thing.
Oh, dude.
You just said it. He had to kill himself. What did I say? He knew he was going to die.
You know, he had to kill himself because who else is going to kill him? You can't bring... I'm saying he had to kill himself. I'm saying his clone had to kill him. Because
it did not have to.
Yes, because that's... What are you going to do? Just have him go off into the sunset and just have him die of adamantium poisoning?
Why not?
No, you got to send him out with...
You said that.
No, you got to send him out with the bang. And the only bang that you can do at this point, especially when the mutants are dead, is you make him fight himself. That is the only person who he can go toe-to-toe with and have the chance of losing.
No.
That's why I'm saying he had to kill himself.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying literally Logan had to shoot himself in the head. I'm saying his clone had to kill him. So in a way, it's him having to kill himself because that's the only adversary that's left in the world that has the ability to. Nobody else on that roster of the Reavers or the scientists or anybody has the ability to kill Logan. He would mollywop every last one of them.
I mean,
but it's only him.
If
that
you wanted
can
to get
himself.
technical, like they could have killed him. I mean, it's not.
I mean, why wouldn't they have? If they could have just so easily, why didn't they just load everybody up with adamantium bullets and aim for the head?
They could have.
Why not?
It's a movie.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like you sit there and say that it had to go this way, it had to go that way, but it didn't have to go that way.
Well, yeah, you could theorize as much as you want about what could have happened, this or that. I'm just saying the way that it did happen, that's the type of symbolism that showed through. And that is just a small aspect of the bigger picture of why Logan is way better than Deadpool, especially when you consider the final fight scenes. Like, you can't draw a comparison because there's just so many more layers and tiers to the Logan and versus X-24 versus his daughter, versus the Reavers. There's just so many more layers to it.
I mean, yeah, there is a lot of layers. And like, if you wanted to, like, yeah, you could say that there's a bunch of, symbolism, all that kind of stuff about Logan and everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said before, you go into that and of course you're going to have an emotional connection, emotional everything, because it is an emotional movie. Like you were saying, it was a banger way to take out of, one of the best superheroes, whatever. But you can't take away from the Deadpool movie as a whole movie. Like,
don't get me wrong, Deadpool is a good movie. I really enjoyed Deadpool. And for my personal tastes, I love Deadpool. I love the humor in it. I loved everything about it, really.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that drawing the comparisons between the two movies, it's such a lopsided victory for Logan, in my opinion. It's such a better movie. And I'm not even saying superhero movie, just movie in general. Just the emotions that you get throughout the entire thing. Don't get me wrong, it has its spots where they're kind of just, whatever, I could have done without that or what, but every movie does. But it's just, Logan is so much better, dude.
I'll give it to you.
You're going to give it to me?
Yeah.
You don't want to even see what the people who voted had to say?
No. It's like, going into this, I mean, I knew that it was going to be a high task because it's like two movies you really can't compare. Like, if we were comparing the characters, that would be different. But, if you want to compare movies, they're two totally, completely different movies.
Yeah. And that does make it difficult.
Yeah, it makes it hard because, in that, Logan, I mean, I was sitting here trying to debate with you, but it's a fantastic movie, and it's one of my favorite movies just because of everything that you said. And Deadpool is your traditional, oh yeah, the superhero gets that way and all that and everything.
Yeah.
It's just difficult to argue.
And also, it's hard to go after Deadpool because it is such a good movie, but at the same time, it's hard to compete with a character that has been so established in movies like Wolverine. And also with him being like the lead X-Men in the movies.
Yeah,
He's not, in normal, it's Cyclops or whatever, but in the movies, he's been like the main character 9 times out of 10 in the movies.
Which, I mean, like that does take a bit because Deadpool, they're a really good movie. Even the second one, I think, is a great movie whenever, Yeah. But I mean, like that, like you said, just that's like trying to put some what was that guy in I think it was Age of Ultron that was really fast that died. That's
Quicksilver.
Yeah, Quicksilver, putting him against Iron Man, like trying to debate those. You're like, I mean,
that is a pretty good comparison to like what we're arguing.
Yeah,
because you don't get near as much screen time.
Yeah,
the character hasn't been near as established and hasn't had near the impact. And you're right. It is hard, but you want to see what I mean. I don't know how to score this one now that you've given it to me, but I still want to see what the votes had to say. You've got to be kidding me.
Let me guess. Who won?
Deadpool 64% wins. How is that possible?
See,
How?
I probably shouldn't have given it to you that easy.
I guess not. No. You didn't think that you were going to win or what?
No, dude.
I didn't think that you were going to win. How is that? No.
Dude, I feel horrible.
That's got to be.
Because I feel like I didn't defend everybody the way they needed to be defended.
Regardless of the defending, it's like, how did people come to that conclusion? 64%? That's not even close. That's a good percentage.
That is a big. See, that's what I'm saying. Is like the relatability. I feel like people just relate to Deadpool just on the sense of the comedy and just who he is, how he acts. It's hard to relate to like you said, a prick that, like, even though what he did in the end was like a phenomenal like feat of, how everything came full circle. It's kind of like in the end, whenever you watch a movie, even though it is like an emotional thing, you want to relate to that movie as much as you want.
Yeah. Maybe. I still feel like people should relate. Here's my public service announcement. If you voted on this poll and you voted Deadpool, I strongly encourage you to go watch Logan again. Hell, watch Deadpool again, as a matter of fact. Back to back. I don't care which one you do first. And then tell me what you really think. Because I think that it's just been people have watched Deadpool more recently and they forget about Logan or something. I can't believe that. I'm about to throw this microphone across the table.
Dude, I really think it's just like, who would you sit down and have a beer with? Deadpool or Logan? I mean, I know probably you would. I would rather have a beer with Deadpool.
I would too, but that.
But that takes in, like, even maybe on the polls, it was kind of not clear enough that maybe it was like people thought it was just the characters, not the movie. Maybe people didn't like read. What's the best movie? They just saw like Deadpool, Logan.
That could be possible.
Because if we were debating like how we debated movie, then Logan takes the cake. But character wise, there's so many things that you could take into Deadpool that Logan's kind of like, he's a aggressive animal, like in the case Wolverine, like he's an animal. But Deadpool,
I'm the animal.
But you take Deadpool, that extremely funny, extremely cool guy. Then
it's bullshit. People need to do their research on these movies before they just vote with it.
Dude, you can't hate on the fans and the people.
I know. Thank y'all for voting.
Even though you voted wrong.
Yeah. You f***ing suck, but thank you for choosing one at least.
Yeah, thank you for voting.
Yeah,
we appreciate that.
Real. If y'all want to vote, we're trying to centralize everything to our Twitter page. So it's at Motion Picture DF. on Twitter.
And especially if you want to either throw ideas at us, like what we can compare, comments about these videos, what if y'all want to debate on the comments, anything, feel free to comment, like, subscribe, do whatever y'all want to do.
Different segments that you may want to see.
Yeah.
We really don't know what the hell we're doing up here.
No, I really don't. Like, we're taking this one step at a time, just trying to fill out the waters and everything. You might need to put the link of the Twitter page in the bio of the YouTube video.
I did.
Oh, well, that's where you can find it. The link of the Twitter page is in the bio of our YouTube. So
this one messed me up a little bit. I'm gonna have to do some thinking.
I'm gonna have to sit back and kind of think about myself and think about how
think about yourself.
I messed up on a lot of the debate topics.
Yeah.
But in a weird kind of, you win the debate, the people have my back. I guess mine
had your back.
I guess mine was the best one.
You did.